What if the sea became resistance? What if islands united against empire? One prince dared to challenge colonizers. His name was Nuku of Tidore. His struggle began with painful loss. Foreign powers desired Maluku's precious spices. Cloves and nutmeg attracted distant empires. European ships crossed dangerous oceans searching. They brought merchants, soldiers, and cannons. Trade slowly transformed into ruthless control. The Dutch built forts across islands. Their influence entered royal political affairs. Local rulers faced increasing foreign pressure. Tidore struggled, protecting its ancient independence. Sultan Jamaluddin resisted Dutch interference strongly. He refused becoming their obedient puppet. Dutch officials viewed him with suspicion. Political tension spread throughout the kingdom. Secret meetings filled palace corridors nightly. Promises concealed dangerous colonial ambitions everywhere. Nuku watched these events while growing. He learned power often wore smiles. Friendly words sometimes carried hidden chains. His father's courage inspired him deeply, yet resistance demanded a painful price. Dutch pressure weakened Sultan Jamaluddin's position. Rival nobles supported foreign political influence. Betrayal entered Tidore's royal palace quietly. Trusted allies began choosing safer paths. The kingdom became divided from within. Eventually, Jamaluddin lost his throne. Colonial authorities removed him from power. He was forced into distant exile. Nuku watched his father's departure helplessly. The royal family lost everything suddenly. Their palace became filled with silence. Nuku carried anger beneath calm expressions. He remembered every humiliating moment clearly. His father's absence became permanent pain. Yet grief slowly transformed into determination. Nuku refused accepting colonial control forever. He dreamed of restoring Tidore's freedom. But open rebellion seemed impossible then. Dutch soldiers controlled strategic island ports. Their ships carried powerful cannons everywhere. Their forts dominated important sea routes. Nuku possessed neither armies nor resources. He only possessed courage and anger. Still, those emotions needed careful direction. Nuku quietly left the royal center. He traveled between remote eastern islands. Small boats carried him through darkness. He avoided Dutch patrols and informants. Every island offered new dangers daily. Some leaders distrusted the young prince. Others feared Dutch punishment and retaliation. Nuku listened before asking for loyalty. He learned each community's deepest grievances. Their stories revealed widespread colonial suffering. Villages faced unfair demands and restrictions. Local traditions slowly lost their freedom. Nuku realized Tidore was not alone. Many islands shared the same anger. The scattered resistance needed one voice. Nuku decided to become that voice. Nuku traveled farther across eastern waters. He visited islands beyond Dutch control. Every shore carried stories of suffering. Every village remembered broken colonial promises. Nuku listened beside fires through nights. He spoke carefully with local leaders. He promised partnership, never empty authority. Slowly, trust replaced fear and suspicion. Island chiefs began supporting his cause. Papuan communities joined Nuku's growing alliance. Maluku warriors offered boats and weapons. Fishermen shared secret routes between islands. Messengers carried news across dangerous seas. The resistance spread without public announcements. Dutch officials noticed unusual movements everywhere. Small boats gathered near hidden shores. Unknown warriors appeared inside distant villages. Colonial patrols discovered abandoned coastal camps. Nuku remained impossible to capture directly. The sea protected his scattered forces. He understood currents better than invaders. Hidden coves became temporary resistance headquarters. Forest paths connected isolated coastal communities. Every island became part of strategy. Nuku never relied upon one fortress. His strength moved constantly across waters. Dutch commanders struggled predicting his movements. They searched maps for hidden answers. But maps could not measure loyalty. Nuku possessed something stronger than territory. People willingly protected his dangerous secrets. Villagers warned him about approaching soldiers. Fishermen guided his boats through darkness. Warriors defended him without demanding rewards. Their trust became his greatest weapon. Nuku understood freedom required shared sacrifice. Therefore, he treated allies with respect. He listened before making important decisions. His leadership united different island cultures. Old rivalries slowly weakened beneath cooperation. Yet unity remained difficult and fragile. Some chiefs demanded greater power themselves. Others doubted Nuku's ambitious promises. Colonial agents encouraged suspicion between allies. Secret messages offered wealth and positions. A few leaders accepted dangerous agreements. Nuku discovered betrayal within his alliance. The news struck him like lightning. He questioned whom he could trust. Anger urged him toward ruthless punishment. But fear could destroy fragile unity. Nuku chose patience instead of vengeance. He confronted traitors before loyal witnesses. His words exposed colonial manipulation clearly. Some betrayers returned after feeling shame. Others escaped toward Dutch protection afterward. The alliance survived its first crisis. Nuku became wiser through painful experience. He realized courage required more listening. Winning battles would never prove enough. He needed people believing shared freedom. Therefore, he called leaders together again. They gathered beside a burning shoreline. Nuku raised his sword toward heaven. The Eastern Islands answered with unity. Nuku's alliance prepared for open resistance. Traditional war boats gathered before sunrise. Warriors arrived from distant Eastern Islands. Different languages filled the coastal camps. Yet everyone understood freedom's urgent meaning. Nuku walked among his gathered warriors. He saw fear behind determined faces. Many had families waiting across oceans. Some had never fought before. Others carried memories of colonial violence. Nuku promised no easy victory. He promised struggle, sacrifice, and uncertainty. Still, nobody abandoned the growing alliance. At dawn, the resistance fleet departed. Wooden boats crossed glowing eastern waters. Their sails moved beneath crimson sunlight. Nuku stood quietly at the front. He remembered his father's painful exile. Every wave carried old memories forward. Every distant island offered renewed hope. Their first targets were colonial supplies. Dutch forts depended upon distant shipments. Nuku planned attacks without direct confrontation. Small boats moved through hidden channels. Warriors waited beside narrow coastal passages. When supply ships appeared, they attacked. Arrows and gunfire shattered morning silence. Resistance boats surrounded larger colonial vessels. The attacks ended before reinforcements arrived. Nuku's forces vanished behind nearby islands. Dutch commanders became increasingly frustrated afterward. Their powerful ships seemed strangely helpless. Cannons could not strike invisible enemies. Forts could not control every island. The sea itself became Nuku's fortress. Each victory brought more volunteers forward. Villages began openly supporting the resistance. Food, weapons, and information arrived daily. Nuku's name spread across eastern waters. Some called him freedom's rising leader. Others called him a dangerous rebel. Dutch authorities called him their enemy. Nuku accepted every name without hesitation. His purpose mattered more than titles. Yet success created dangerous new problems. Colonial forces increased their military presence. More warships entered strategic eastern waters. Soldiers occupied villages suspected of loyalty. Families faced punishment for helping Nuku. Fear returned to many coastal communities. Some allies questioned continuing the struggle. They feared losing everything through war. Nuku understood their painful doubts deeply. He visited threatened villages personally. He listened to grieving families quietly. Their suffering weighed heavily upon him. Was freedom worth these growing losses? The question followed him every night, but surrender promised another kind of suffering. Colonial control would continue without resistance. Nuku chose fighting despite personal doubt. He ordered stronger protection for villages. New alliances formed across distant seas. Then unexpected foreign ships approached nearby. The resistance faced a dangerous opportunity. Unexpected ships appeared beyond the horizon. Their flags differed from Dutch banners. British officers requested meetings with Nuku. They offered weapons, supplies, and support. Britain also opposed Dutch colonial power. Their alliance offered valuable strategic advantages. Yet foreign friendship carried hidden dangers. Nuku remembered colonial promises from history. He refused trusting powerful outsiders blindly. Still, his resistance needed stronger resources. The decision created another painful dilemma: accept assistance or continue fighting alone. Nuku consulted chiefs across allied islands. Their opinions divided the resistance leadership. Some welcomed British weapons immediately. Others feared exchanging one ruler. Nuku listened throughout the difficult debate. Finally, he accepted limited cooperation carefully. The alliance strengthened Nuku's military position. New weapons reached Eastern resistance fighters. British ships challenged Dutch naval routes. Dutch commanders suddenly faced greater pressure. Nuku used this opportunity strategically. His forces attacked several important positions. Island warriors captured valuable coastal forts. Colonial supply routes became increasingly vulnerable. Dutch influence weakened across eastern islands. Nuku's dream appeared closer than ever. Yet victory demanded one final return. Tidore remained beyond his direct control. The Lost Kingdom called him home. Nuku gathered his largest fleet yet. Hundreds of boats filled surrounding waters. Warriors prepared beneath traditional island banners. Nuku stood before his assembled forces. He remembered leaving as hunted prince. Now countless people followed his leadership. Their loyalty carried enormous responsibility. Nuku promised protecting every allied community. Then the fleet sailed toward Tidore. Dark clouds gathered above volcanic mountains. Strong winds struck the advancing boats. Waves crashed against wooden hulls. Some warriors feared the coming battle. Nuku remained visible upon his vessel. His calm presence strengthened frightened fighters. At sunrise, Tidore appeared ahead. The royal island stood beneath smoke. Dutch defenses guarded important coastal positions. Cannons waited above the crowded harbor. Nuku ordered his fleet forward. Traditional boats rushed through dangerous waters. Colonial cannons shattered the morning silence. Water erupted beside the advancing fleet. Several boats changed direction suddenly. Nuku refused abandoning the attack. Warriors landed along Tidore's coast. Fighting spread across beaches and villages. Resistance banners rose above captured positions. Dutch defenders slowly lost control. The island remembered its exiled prince. Nuku entered Tidore through cheering crowds. His long journey finally reached home. But freedom demanded more than victory. Nuku still faced his greatest responsibility. Nuku returned home as victorious leader. Tidore welcomed him with overwhelming joy. Crowds gathered beside the royal harbor. Traditional banners moved beneath golden sunlight. Warriors celebrated their long-awaited victory together. Yet Nuku remained silent among celebrations. He remembered everyone lost during resistance. Freedom had demanded painful sacrifices everywhere. Many loyal warriors never returned home. Their families waited beside empty shores. Nuku understood victory carried lasting grief. Soon he accepted Tidore's royal throne. The exiled prince became Sultan Nuku. His journey transformed history across eastern islands. But ruling brought difficult responsibilities immediately. Nuku needed rebuilding divided communities together. Old rivalries threatened his fragile alliance. Some leaders demanded greater political influence. Others feared losing traditional independence. Nuku refused ruling through fear alone. He invited island leaders into discussions. Every community received opportunities for representation. Cooperation became stronger than forced obedience. Nuku remembered lessons from colonial rule. Power without trust eventually created resistance. Therefore, he protected alliances through respect. His influence expanded beyond Tidore's shores. Eastern communities recognized his growing authority. The resistance became a regional movement. Yet colonial threats never disappeared completely. Dutch forces continued planning their return. Nuku strengthened defenses across important islands. Warboats guarded strategic maritime routes. Coastal communities shared intelligence regularly. His network remained difficult to defeat. The sea continued protecting his people. Years passed beneath changing tropical skies. Nuku grew older through endless responsibility. His body weakened, but resolve remained. He continued traveling between allied islands. Every journey strengthened ancient political bonds. People remembered his courage and patience. They remembered his willingness to listen. They remembered his refusal to surrender. In 1805, Sultan Nuku died. Grief spread across eastern Indonesian waters. Warriors lowered their banners in silence. Villages mourned beside quiet moonlit shores. His death ended an extraordinary life. But his ideas continued traveling onward. Freedom had become larger than Nuku. His allies carried resistance into memory. Stories crossed islands through future generations. Children learned his name beside fires. Fishermen repeated his courage upon waters. Nuku became more than royal history. He became a symbol of unity. His strength never came from thrones. His strength came from trusted people. Colonial maps measured islands and borders. But maps could not measure loyalty. Nuku united communities across vast seas. His greatest fortress was human trust. The sea kept carrying his story. Sultan Nuku never truly sailed alone.